the old days where you can go into a clubhouse and get a job, and people would help. I think the professional clubs have lost maybe a bit of that aspect, in terms of it's more of a division between the clubs and the fans, whereas before it was a sense of community. Would you agree on that point?
Yeah, I would. I would. But it's been 30 years now, Liam, since the game went pro. People
Yeah,
say it's still young. People say it's still young. I would argue 30 years on, you should be getting more right than wrong.
yeah,
And I know that obviously financially, clubs and unions have really been struggling, and they've had to change the model, the dynamic. And if it was a PLC, it would have gone bust a long time ago. The board would have been dropped, sacked a long time ago, with the amount of financial losses that have been happened. Yeah, I just hope that there is a path and a way forward for what is an amazing game, but it brings amazing benefits to people, and they can produce amazing performances. They are amazing athletes. Don't get me wrong. And I'm a bit morose because of obviously Lewis Moody's news, which is desperately sad. 47 years of age, and there's obviously, as we know, been others. So, and they are working their backsides off to try and make things as safe as humanly possible. I know that for a fact. I don't believe in HIAs. If somebody's had a head knock, don't have an HIA, just somebody else come on. Why do you need to go through an HIA, that process, and that risk of potentially coming on again? Just take them
yeah,
off.
yeah. I mean, just I think you mentioned an idea, the concept you had of red shorts for kids, that you spoke about to me, which was seemed a good idea. Um, I'd also, sort of, it teaches kids to tackle lower, and perhaps made the game safer, a little bit. But we spoke about, or I've spoken about to Fitz in the past. There are other areas where the game is it's really progressing and it's engaged, like Japan and some of the French clubs, where they're engaged in a local community, and financially the numbers stack up.
Yeah, and the amateur game could easily thrive. They're struggling for numbers. I mean, I've come up with this idea that every team under 14 wears red shorts. That's where you tackle. That's where you go. The RFU issued a thing about the sternum a couple of years ago, which went down like a lead balloon. You're going to tell a 10-year-old to tackle below the sternum? Where's the sternum? How many 10-year-olds know where the sternum is? So red shorts idea is not perfect. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, but it creates something visible on the field, which to me as a mum or a dad, that's that. And if my lad tackles just above the red short, it's not a penalty. We're not changing the laws. My other big issue about rugby is how many times they change the laws. We keep changing laws all the time, not just for safety and head reasons. But if we have a target for red shorts, yes, they'll get a ban, they'll get a knock. But you speak to the muscle memory specialist that if I ingratiate into a 7, 8, 9-year-old about dropping the knees, bending my legs from the calves and going in low with my leading arm and grabbing onto something and all the rest of it, that will manifest itself upwards as they go through the age grades. As I say, there are other ways of getting injured on a rugby field, but everybody wearing red shorts, that's where you tackle. That's where you go. You can't go upright. And we are a game of movement. It's going to happen, I'm afraid. There are going to be situations where somebody comes off their left foot at the last possible minute, and I can't bend my knees, and I have gone too high. It's not intentional, but the more we can do to make it safer and to show people that the amateur game, community game, is not the top end. It is a totally different game. It's a totally different game. They're spending all their time with the strength and conditioning coaches and the rugby coaches, which is great, which is fantastic. They are proper pros. But what they're seeing up there, and it does affect the community game, but there is a huge place for the community game, and we need to push that, in the UK, globally, whatever we possibly can.
Absolutely.